rasping, billowing, bursting forth with the power of 10 billion butterfly sneezes.
This is Wine, Money, and Song. And if you want an insider's view of the wine industry, and if you're interested in learning about wines in different wine areas, please subscribe. So in the last few weeks, I got into a little rut. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go into my wine cellar and pull out some special bottles. And just from the boredom, and sometimes you get stuck in a rut. And how I get out of my rut, wine drinking rut, is I pick a few things that I haven't touched in a long time. So today we're going to have a champagne. A special champagne. We'll have a red and white Burgundy, and we'll have 3 Bordeaux. And I found all 6 of these wines very complex and very, very interesting to drink. So let's start off with the champagne. The champagne is Jacquesson Extra Brut, Cuvée 739. And the Cuvée 739, when they first started numbering these things, they started at 700. And this vintage is mainly the 2011 vintage. And there's very little dosage. It's less than 0.1. And it spent 8 years on the leads. So it was disgorged 2020. So me and my friend Ron Metzger bought a bunch of this together and we split it up. And this champagne was brought out a couple of years ago by Artemis Group, which is headed up by Francois Pinault. And Francois Pinault is something like the 6th wealthiest man in Europe. Very, very famous guy, and owns a lot of things besides Jacquesson. He controls Chateau Latour, First Growth Bordeaux, Chateau Yquem, the world's most famous Sauterne. He also owns Schrader and Napa Valley and a number of other famous estates. His company owns Christie's Auction House, and they own fashion houses, and they buy luxury brands. So they were looking for a champagne, and Jacquesson was right up their alley, traditional, and they only make like 250,000 bottles a year. And so to the champagne itself is the Jacquesson 739. It's a very rich champagne, and deeper in color, and really has exceptional petulance. The bubbles really, really flow at a steady, even stream, very, very small bubbles, and it's a very rich champagne, very luxurious, a bit doughy, and if you like the richer types of champagne, this one, and it was very complex, very, very delicious to drink, and was very good with food. I wouldn't call this a cocktail or before dinner champagne. This can be handled with food. So that's Jacquesson. Now we have 2 Burgundies, and the first one is Domaine Leflaive Mâcon-Verzé 2019. A friend of mine called me up, and he wanted to split a case of this. He found it somewhere in Michigan, and we got a good price on it. By the way, the price of the Jacquesson's around $100. The price of the Mâcon-Verzé is around $75, which is not cheap for Mâcon, but it's Domaine Leflaive. And back in 2004, Domaine Leflaive, who's famous for making some of the greatest white Burgundies in the world, besides a little Montrachet, and some Batar, Montrachet. His Pellinis are out there and you can get them. And they're spectacular white Burgundies. Very, very classic, but very, very expensive. So when you have the reason why Leflaive decided to buy outside of Pellini, and the area is all the land's too expensive in those famous areas, Pellini, Merce, all those. But you can buy a lot of land in Mâcon now. So in 2004, he bought some land in Mâcon, and he's been expanding it. And he makes the wines like he makes his Pellinis and all the other wines. They're really a step or two up from the regular Mâcon wines. And Mâcon is Mâcon Village, and there's Pouilly-Fuissé is also a Mâconnais wine that's very famous. So this wine, it's really rich. There's a ripeness to it, and there's a lushness to it. And you get a little bit of zest of lime and a little green apple in it. And it's very round and enjoyable. And I really sucked that bottle down. Usually Chardonnay wines have, some oak in it, and you really got to take it. This one was just so delicious, I knocked it back. And you have to consider, at $75, is it a great value? I don't know, that's up to you, but it is a delicious wine. And just remember something, that the Domaine Leflaive wines are different than the negociant business of the Olivier Leflaive wines. So as everyone knows, that there's another line of wines from Leflaive. The Olivier Leflaive line is a negociant line where they buy fruit and they bottle it and put it out as the Olivier Leflaive label. And that's very different than the Domaine Leflaive, which is all estate grown. So don't get them confused. The second Burgundy is a Clos Vougeot from Domaine Confuron-Cotetidot. And Clos Vougeot is Grand Cru wine. And this estate is a very old-fashioned estate, very traditionally made, old-fashioned. And you can compare it to maybe Michel Garneau in Pomerol, very rich, very traditional winemaking there. And the wines age very, very well. You may want to compare them to Chave and Clap in the Rhone. Very, very traditional and classic wines. So this Clos Vougeot uses whole cluster fermentation. And the 2009 was an excellent vintage in Burgundy, and it was a very ripe vintage. But this wine is still rich and kind of backward, but has a lot of fruit. And it has a lot of length, and it's really complex. And it's not over the top like some of the Clos Vougeot wines can be. So very, very classic wine. No one knows this estate. So if you ever have a chance to see it, you're buying traditionally made Burgundy. Now let's get to the Bordeaux's. The first Bordeaux is La Chapelle de la Mission Haut-Brion 2018. And this is the second label of La Mission Haut-Brion. And you know what my theory is about buying second wines of famous chateaus. They should be about 25% of the price of the first wine. And if it's about that level, then you're getting good value, in my opinion. Why does that have to happen every episode? So this wine's from the 2018 vintage, which is a flamboyant and more upfront than 2019 and 2020. There's 41% Merlot in here and 52% Cabernet, and usually it's more Merlot in here. So it's a very dark wine, and it's not very open. And usually second wines tend to be more open and easier to drink and earlier to drink, but this one's a little reluctant to come out. There's some scorched brick quality you get out of Grave wines, but right now it's a little disjointed. And when you got a belly up, it's about $100. I don't know if that's a great value, and the wine to me is not drinkable now. I think it needs some more time, but you have a chance to buy a famous estate, the second wine, and in good vintages, I want you to look out for those second ones because generally they can be good values. The second Bordeaux is Chateau Haut-Brion from Pressac, 1998. And in 1998, it turns out, M&T Bank of Buffalo bought this Bordeaux estate. And the guy was really hot to try, the president of the bank really loved Bordeaux and wanted to get into the business, bought the estate, and he installed his people in there, his family in there. And in 1998, Veronica Sanders took over the estate and has been improving it over the next 25 years. And they make a very classical Grave style. They have sand and gravelly soil with some crushed fossil shells in the soil. There's a tremendous earthiness to this wine and roundness to the wine. It's 60% Cabernet and 34% Merlot, and that's a lot more Cabernet than most Graves. Most Graves now are tilted to the Merlot side of things. So this has more Cab. And they don't believe in a lot of intervention in the winemaking. Personally, I like Domaine de Chevalier if I'm looking. It's a good 30-40% less expensive, and to me it's just a better value. The Haut-Brion is excellent, and in the past it used to be thought as a good wine as Haut-Brion and all the other wines until it fell into a bad state, and they put a lot of money into it and they've really improved it. But for value, go to Domaine de Chevalier. The last Bordeaux is a Pomerol, Clos Vougeot Pomerol 2009 vintage. So to understand the 2009 again, very ripe, very fruity, soft acidities. This wine's 90% Merlot and 10% Cabernet Franc. And this is a wine, in my opinion, that Robert Parker made back in the 80s and 90s. He really started talking about Pomerol. And Parker loved big, ripe wines, darkly colored wines, and high alcoholic wines. And this fits that style. Now, I found the wine to be a big boy. Very black in color still, and it's 2009. It's very viscous, it's thick, ripe, and muscular. Personally, now I know this wine gets rated very highly and a lot of people love it. I like a more feminine style, a more balanced style, like Trot Noir. This has its market. And as I said, people talk about the Parkerization of wines. This is one of those wines that's Parkerized. And not to say it's not a good wine. It was very interesting. But a wine like this, I feel I need a spoon to drink it.
not to go, I need to take it little by little. But it is a sizable wine and from a very good vintage, and it's around $250 a bottle. And if you like that style, you're going to love the big style. If you don't, you can still enjoy it, and you can go back to the other more elegant styles. So that's what I've been doing lately.